You are now listening to Ride With Me, the Flat Tire Podcast.
Welcome to Ride With Me, episode 149. Today is February 21st, 2026, and I'll introduce my guest in a bit. Guys, the hotline's still there. Go ahead and give it a call. 818-806-8595. Remember, you can star 67, so I don't have access to your number. Give me a call. Leave a voice message, leave a question. I mean, if you don't mind, give me your number. That's fine. You can send a text message, whatever. It is an active phone number. Give it a call. Don't forget to follow me on Ride With Me Podcast, Instagram, Ride With Me Podcast, TikTok, YouTube, FTA_podcast. Spotify. I'm on Spotify, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Alexa, YouTube. You can rate on Spotify. I would prefer you follow and rate on Spotify, because for some reason, when you follow on Apple, I don't get those numbers. I just recently noticed that, even though I've been doing this for a long time. I am not getting those. I am not getting the follows. Even when I'm looking at my numbers for the downloads, I have to go online to find everything, because it does not show me when you listen on other apps. It only shows me when you listen on Spotify. So if you can follow on Spotify, that'll be great. Even if you listen on any other devices, on any other apps, I'm okay with it. That's cool. But if you can just at least go hit the app, Spotify, go hit follow. That'll be great. And then let's not forget our sponsors. Hit the open road with peace of mind with SolarX Insurance. Whether you ride a car, motorcycle, or need an SR22, SolarX can help. They offer fast, friendly, and affordable coverage. Don't let insurance stress slow you down. Call 877-736-4719 and let SolarX help you get back on the road. Again, that number is 877-736-4719. And again, give them a call. My buddy Juan. I just learned yesterday that he has multiple locations in Salinas, 2 locations in Salinas, 1 in Santa Maria, 1 in King City, 1 in Watsonsville, 1 in Delano, 2 in Oxnard, 1 in Thousand Oaks, 1 in Port Hueneme, 1 in McFarland, and 1 in Santa Paula. Again, that number is 877-736-4719, and give them a call. And so, like I started last week, I do a recap now, so that since some of you don't read the podcast description, I'm not going to name names. So I'm going to do a little recap like I did last week. This week, I said with Jessenia. I'm going to say Jay, because she corrected me on her name. As she shared a powerful story. She talked about being raised by teenage parents and what it was like being a little girl. Jay opened up about growing up in a home of domestic violence. And she shared how her family moved a lot and even faced homelessness at times, which we'll probably touch on that next episode. Actually, take that back. All the instability shaped her personally and made her stronger, but also left scars. During her teenage years, she struggled with relationships with her parents. She also spoke honestly about early dating and how her attachment patterns began. And there goes the train. Jay shared what it felt like to move to San Diego, from San Diego to to Florida. And she also talked about becoming a young mom that changed her life. In the second half, Jessenia opened up about her marriage, relationships, and then she talked about domestic violence and abuse. Sorry, I'm not a good reader. I don't read well. I'm trying my best here. She explained, well, actually, we didn't touch on trauma bonding. We'll probably ask her about that next week. Yes, the episode lasted longer than expected. We started later than expected also. So we paused it halfway through and said, hey, we'll just continue next week. Because she was also starting to get ready to go to work. So she was in Florida, so she's 3 hours ahead. I woke up super early just to get it going. And so, like I said, if you're a guest on my podcast, I will take into consideration your time. So, this episode is about pain, growth, and finding your strength. So, again, give it a listen. And if there's something that I missed on this episode, feel free to comment, because I will be recording the next half of her episode next week. So thank you guys again for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. I know I'm not a professional here, but hey, I like what I do. It's a hobby. And yeah, I've met wonderful people on here. I've made friends. I consider some of them family already. So again, thank you guys for listening to the podcast, and let's get started with Jessenia. Thank you guys.
Need auto insurance or an SR22? Like now, SolarX Insurance gets you covered fast. No license, no problem. We speak your language, shop the best rates, and get you back on the road today. Call 877-736-4719. That's 877-736-4719. Visit slxinsurance.com or call now 877-736-4719. Quick, easy, done. SolarX Insurance. Drive with confidence.
Good morning, Jay.
Good morning, Andy.
Thank you for being up so early to do this podcast today.
No. I should be thanking you. You're the one who woke up at the crack of dawn.
I couldn't believe. I woke up like at 2:30 and I couldn't go to sleep. I'm like, I gotta get up. So I got up. I showered to wake up, and then had like a little protein drink, and then I was like, because I'm gonna be back there who knows how long. And so I'm like, let me get on here. Let me get back there. And what keeps me distracted was I was on TikTok Live for a little while. So that keeps me distracted, talking to people, getting my voice ready to go, water bottles, lighting. So
that was me. I turned on the music because in the morning my voice is pretty deep and raspy as it is for a woman. But in the morning I have like my sex operator voice, low key. And so I sound so seductive. So I was like trying to like warm up my vocal cords. I'm like, get a little bit of that extra rasp.
Your 1-900 number voice.
They've been telling me that since middle school. I'm telling you. And then with my last name being Fox, and then my nickname being Juicy, I'm just set up to sound like I'm a stripper.
There you go.
No hate.
There you go. No hate.
No hate, you. I don't knock nobody's hustle.
There you go.
Everybody's consenting to it.
Exactly. So typical. I met Jay through Instagram. Added her as a friend. I post on there, hey, who wants to be on the podcast? And she brave enough to say, I'll do it. And here we are. The thing is that I tripped out. You live in Florida, right?
Yeah, I was just mentioning that today is actually my 6-month anniversary since I've arrived in Florida. It took me 10 days to drive here from San Diego, California. So I was like, kind of divine timing. What a perfect time to stop and have this conversation and reflect with you.
Yeah, I tripped.
I'm out here in Gatorville, in the boonies, okay?
I tripped
in the South.
I tripped out when she gave me her number so we can talk and touch up, because we talked a couple weeks ago about this, and I was like, 619. That's Rey Mysterio's number. That's Rey Mysterio's wrestling move, like San Diego. And
hardly home, but always repping SD.
What got you to move to Florida?
Oh Lord!
Is that part of the podcast, and what we can ask later?
That's part of that. Yeah, my whole life. Okay, my whole life is what ended me up moving. I honestly, the move came from I was fresh out of separating from my husband. I was experiencing homelessness again. And I could not find any housing in San Diego. Single mom, 3 kids, service animal. And it came from, it's funny though, because I had wanted to move. Like, I had been posting on Facebook, like, I might be moving states. Like, you know, it was always in my mind. I always considered moving to Florida, and I always thought about doing a big move. But when it came to me not having housing, I had a family member who owned a home here in Florida.
Okay.
And my grandfather died about 2 years ago or so, and my grandmother was looking to move from California. She already owned a home in Florida. And so she suggested, like, you know, why don't we get out of California and why don't we try something new? And I'm someone who's always like opportunity driven. So like, I'm like, if it's the opportunity's there, I'm going to take it. And so that was that, you know, it was kind of a forced decision a little bit, you know, kind of like I need to survive. It was made out of like survivorhood, but also I've always knew I was going to leave San Diego. Like I knew that I would have to, you know?
Right. So let's dive right into it. How about that? Ready?
I guess so. Lord, let's go.
Early life and family. What comes up? What feelings come up when you think about your childhood?
You know, I was doing a lot of reflecting this week, these last 2 weeks since we got off the phone, and doing a lot of reflection on my upbringing, my family, a lot of prayer. I have a very complex relationship with my immediate family, specifically my parents and my siblings and my grandparents. And, you know, we've gone years. There's been years in my life where I've been no contact with my dad. There's been months, year with my mom that I've been no contact. I was actually no contact with my dad for almost like at least 6 months right before I left, 7 months right before I left California. He was very upset about me moving to Florida, I believe. He cut me off. And then you know what? He hit me up this week and was out of nowhere. No sorry, no nothing. Just, hey, flying out for business. Gonna be a few hours away. Can I come by and see the kids?
Yeah.
Can I stay with you or should I get an Airbnb? Man, I was so triggered. I was like, you know, how dare you?
Yeah.
Just slide in and ask like nothing. And then the other half of me was like, I just want peace. I just want peace in my life. And, you know, when I think of my upbringing, I think of abuse. I think of being scared. I think of always moving. I think of being homeless. I think of being scared my mom was going to die. And then I don't have a lot of childhood memories. All of my childhood memories are PTSD flashbacks.
Oh, man.
You know we have the dark humor, Andy. Okay, literally, my childhood memories are PTSD flashbacks that I have while I'm doing the dishes.
Right.
I'm like, oh, God. Remember that time Mom got stomped out? Jesus, okay, Jessenia, focus on the dishes.
So
I mean,
I
was born.
Go for it.
In all seriousness, I was born to teen parents. My parents were both. My parents both grew up in San Diego. They were young. My mom was only 16 when she got pregnant with me. I believe my dad was about 17, 18. She had me when she was 17. She made the decision to keep me based off of her own will. Everybody in her family, of course, she was a teenage mom and she was pregnant by a known womanizer. And so they all encouraged her to not have me. So that is important for me to say because I have gratitude for my mother being so young. My mother was raised by an alcoholic and a drug addict. You know, she didn't have nobody taught her nothing. You know, she had no family support and she still decided like, I'm going to keep my baby. And I have to remember that. And that's like my grounder to try to use empathy towards my mom and to continue to forgive her. It's like, you know what, at the end of this day, this lady against all odds kept me, you know? So my parents were on and off again a lot growing up. They were breaking up. They were together. They were married. They got legally married when I was like 5, but 2 to 3 to 4 times a year, they were breaking up. My dad was moving out, or me and my mom were moving out. We were going to go sleep on my tia's floor. We were going to go stay with my Nino and Nina. We moved a lot, which plays into me eventually always moving a lot as an adult. I've never had any stability. Yeah. To this day.
Well, that's something we have in common because my mom, in the time that I was in the 2nd grade till in my 21, 22, she moved like 50 times. No joke.
Yes.
But you know what?
Yes.
You know what though? I learned a very good skill from all those moves.
Hmm.
I know how to fucking load a fucking U-Haul truck like there's no tomorrow.
Why do I low-key think I became like a professional organizer and cleaner? Because I packed my grandmother's entire huge house after my grandfather passed away to move her to Florida. I was like, I got this. You know how to. I've literally moved from like 2-3 times in my life. I've gotten rid of everything I owned and only moved with what I could take and fit in my car.
When we moved out here,
like Tetris.
Exactly. When we moved out here, I had a corner desk, and it did not. In order for me to make everything fit, I had to pretty much destroy my desk. We couldn't get everything fit in the truck, and I only wanted to make it a one drive, one trip, no more coming back.
Exactly.
So I grabbed. I don't know where the strength came in me, but I grabbed this desk.
Willpower, Andy.
I lifted it over my head and I shattered it on the floor. We're talking. See my entertainment center up here? We're talking that tall, and we're talking the corner desk. It's like it slits in the corner of a room, right? And my wife comes out. What happened? What happened? You love that desk. Everyone, we all have to make sacrifices. I missed that desk, but it is what it is. And then a different story. A couple years ago, my brother-in-law and his wife were moving, and they were loading up the U-Haul truck, right? And they're like, "Oh, we're probably gonna have to make like 2 or 3 trips." I'm like, "Get the hell out of the truck!"
Yeah, move. Let's get out the way. I got it.
And
start rearranging.
It's funny because a couple months ago, my brother-in-law's father-in-law is like, "Dude, I'll never forget the day you told everybody to get the hell out of the U-Haul truck and you loaded everything in one trip."
Yes. It's like a puzzle, right? Like you literally start to see, you're like, how you can configure the boxes and the furniture to get and fill every single gap, which makes the move better because everything is stabilized and sturdy. Look at what professional movers don't get us going.
100%. Like I said, they didn't know. They thought they were gonna make multiple trips, and I was like, nah.
We ain't fishing up in here, dog.
We'll make it fit. So yeah,
You must have never only had 1 hour to get all your shit and get out of somewhere, okay? And it shows.
Oh, yeah.
What you mean come back?
Multiple times. Yep.
We ain't getting you back up in here.
You know how many times we had to freaking beat the clock because the sheriffs could have showed up any minute?
Andy, do I?
Yeah.
We're long lost.
The sheriffs are on their way. The sheriffs are on their way. We just got evicted again. Again, and we have to hurry up and get all there. Like, why the fuck do we wait till the last minute to move everything? Like, why?
Every time? Why? Why do we? Because you don't know. You don't know until you know. You don't know until you get that notice. You're like, oh shit, it's real now. We got 5 days, people. We got 5 days. Get what matters.
And the only thing that sucks about all those moves is that we always ended up losing our storage. Like, I hit a trigger, huh?
Oh my! How did you, Andy? You hit a trigger because I have nothing from my childhood. Not a trophy, not a photo, not a blanket. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. Nothing, because all those times, you understand.
Yeah.
I've used a lot of storage too. I've lost storage units as an adult with my own children's stuff in it. But I'll never forget when my mom lost one of the big storage units, and that was when we lost everything. Like, my dad has some stuff, but he holds it hostage.
Yeah.
But I'm nothing from my childhood. Do you have stuff from your childhood?
Oh, I'll get there. No.
Oh, we're trauma bonding?
Yeah.
We're trauma bonding, Andy?
Yeah. What happened was, so back in the day when I was like in the 9th grade, I used to have the patience to sit there and hand sketch. Like, I can see your face and I can hand sketch it and draw it to the T. I drew Will Smith.
you're an artist.
I drew Will Smith pre-slap. I drew a girl I had a crush on out of the yearbook. I drew.
That's a way to get some ladies, okay?
And then I don't know if you know the Thalia, the Hispanic singer.
Of course.
I drew her to the T. To the T. We're talking hours and hours and hours of just drawing, right? Storage. And my mom put everything in a storage. My yearbook, my high school yearbook, my junior high yearbook was in there with friends' pictures and autographs and signatures. And
middle school yearbooks, yep.
I went to the freaking storage unit and begged them to let me know who bought the storage unit, and they couldn't tell me. So just a couple of years ago, I went on Facebook, and I went on the school website pages and shit, and I asked, hey, if you guys have me in your yearbook, can I have like pictures of the and they did. I got a couple hits, but a couple people gave me my high school photo when I was in 9th grade, 10th grade. Somebody found an 8th grade photo, and then I was told that if I were to go back to the junior high that I went to, that I
could probably buy them.
Yeah, but there's no point in buying it because I'm not going to be able to go find all the people that signed it in the first place.
Yeah. I know. Oh, I forgot about my yearbooks. That one. I forgot about the middle school and high school yearbooks I lost. Oh, yeah. So that stings.
What do you call it? So like my son, when he was little, he would draw. He would draw a lot. And that one thing I told him, hijo, don't lose that. Don't lose that passion. Don't lose that patience. Do it. Because I tried to draw again after that as an adult. I couldn't do it. I didn't have the patience to do it. I did not have the patience to do it.
Yeah. And I bet you that kind of like traumatized you a little bit. You know what I mean? Knowing that your work was gone like that. That you know what I mean? That hits a little bit. I just
shared this story on a podcast a couple episodes ago where I drew my history teacher wanted us to do an essay, nothing history related, but more on something that we like. He just wanted to see if we can get the work done. And I picked I picked the WWF, back when it was called the WWF. And my cover page. Oh yeah, that's another one I do. The cover page was a portrait of The Rock that I hand drew myself.
I wish I could see these dogs.
Because we moved and we had no contact with the school anymore. Like I never thought about it. We moved. I never got that drawing back. And yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. You know what? I know that they hold on to records, but I don't know how long for. I feel like I need to drive back to the school and say, hey, give me my Rock portrait.
You'd be surprised. Schools do hold on to things for a long time, and sometimes they even have archives. You know what I mean?
I should probably go back to the school.
I think it's worth it.
I
think it's worth it. And I honestly think that you should ask about your yearbooks, even though you won't have them signed.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to track. I'm going to give all mine too. I think I can track all mine down too, just so we can at least see like the kids and the memories. And
I remember him. I had a crush on her. Yeah. I remember him.
I almost beat that bitch's ass.
Go back and find the two guys that were making fun of me, thinking that I didn't speak Spanish. Cabrón, te parto la madre, güey.
I love seeing guys who like bullied me in middle school or in high school, like now as like an adult, or like sometimes they'll try to be like cool with me. I have this one homeboy, every so often I just have to remind him how much he bullied me in high school. I'm like, don't think we cool now, we homies now, but I never forgot.
Right.
I never forget how you did me, okay? Mad because I was telling all the girls you're a cheater. I'm a girl's girl, always been, all right?
Yeah, man, that's the one thing that I like I said, I wish I never lost, but it is what it is.
It is. I was lucky. Like, even though we moved so much, my mom did a good job of keeping me in my schools. Like, moving a lot, especially not having like a neighborhood, it really does affect like like your friendships. Some people are like, yeah, I have been friends with this person or this group of people since elementary school. We grew up in the same neighborhood. Like a neighborhood is a real thing where you build community in your early starts to your friendship. And so when you're constantly moving, you have no stability. It's hard to form community, and so I was lucky that my mom always kept me in the same middle school, elementary school, and high school, no matter how much we moved. And so that allowed me at least to have that. I still wasn't able to like formate those like big group friends, like those deep rooted bonds. But with my daughter, she has changed schools probably almost every year since I've had her in school. I think maybe she's gone to 1 or 2 schools for 2 years in a row,
right,
max. So I recognize how my instability as an adult, coming from instability as a child, not blaming it, because it's, as an adult, you can recognize the things that trauma and how you respond to trauma and how you dealt with trauma, how that impacts your life. Like, yeah, it's important to go back and get to the root. But at some point in your healing journey, in your adult journey, you can't say, well, this all happened to me, and that's why I keep making bad choices. Like at some point you do have to take some accountability, which, we'll get into more today. But that is one of the things that, really eats at me. Like now, then, like that guilt of knowing, like, damn, like I'm dragging my daughter through the same thing, that she was going, that I went through, having to move all the time, having to, she's having to change schools all the time. And so recognizing, like, how do I break that cycle of, that toxic cycle, as I'm trying to break a slew of toxic cycles that are deeply embedded into my family's DNA.
Right.
Like,
that's the one, and that's the with me, I wasn't that lucky because I went to like 2 schools in kindergarten, 1 school in 1st grade, 2 schools like in my baby 2nd grade, like 2 schools and 1 school in the 3rd grade, I think like 2 in the 4th, so on and so on. When I went to high school, that's when I finally put my foot down and said, nah. I'm going to one high school only, and that's it. And it was I went to so many freaking schools. It's
exactly. You're probably thinking like I know you're feeling for my baby, right? My oldest right now, and when we came out here, that was one thing I promised her. I was like, look we're making this move, and my number one priority and concern, and the reason why we're making this sacrifice is because I am going to give you stability. I'm like, I have a countdown. We were just talking about your son earlier, about our teenagers, and I have my daughter, and I'm thinking, okay, I have this many years left with her in the house before she decides if whatever she wants to do. I'm going to support her. She wants to go to college, she wants to travel, whatever. But in my mind, I'm racing against this clock, right? I'm like, all right, I've done almost 14 years of bullshit. I done put you through. I've done dragged you through freaking trauma. You've seen abuse. You've been homeless with me. You've experienced poverty with me. Like, she's my firstborn. I have 3 kids total, but my oldest daughter, I raised by myself most of her life. And so in my mind, I'm like racing. So I'm like, Jaylee, I promise you, baby, like, give me a year to get it together. And that stability, you will deserve it. So like, we even recently were transferring her middle schools. Her middle school is, look at it, I'm kind of hood. Like, I got some hood in me. And I'm like, her school is unhinged. My daughter's a square. I don't know how, but she is, and I like it. I'm like, girl, do you know who I am? My daughter don't even like sneaking snacks into the damn movie theater. She's like, but mama, we're not allowed. Jaylee, if you don't take this damn licorice and Slurpee and Happy Meal and stick it in your backpack.
You remind me of the episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when he's like having the imagination of having kids. Pick your nose, do something.
Do something. Jaylee was like 5 years old. We would go to the zoo. You know, it's free
Yeah.
when they're under 3. She's 5. I got her in the wagon with the blanket over her lap. I'm like, don't say a word.
We used to
You're
do
3 years old. But Mama, I can read. Shut your ass up. Not today. You trying to go to the zoo or not? And be quiet. Put the snacks in your backpack. Okay?
Now you're reminding me of the movie with Adam Sandler's Bulletproof. We're going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We be balling on a budget. That's what I call it. We balling on a budget. Shoot, you better be happy we made it in here. I only had enough to get the tickets.
Yeah.
We gonna make these sandwiches. We gotta go to the parking lot and eat all those sandwiches in the cooler. But you know what? I have not been on a vacation and I've not taken my kids like on a big like outing like that in a while because I told myself like every vacation, any outing, whether it was by myself or with my daughter or with my kids, it was always penny pinching. It was always so like you're out and I'm counting, okay, I just bought this. Okay, now I have to deduct from how much money I have here. Like, and it was so, for me, like stressful, like I'm not enjoying myself. You know what I mean? I want to be enjoying myself, not counting dollars, not thinking how many hours I need to schedule to work to make sure that this outing doesn't mean that I can't pay that bill, you know, like.
Right.
And so I've been recently kind of trying to come to this balance of like, because I've been feeling also, you know, like you can't wait forever. It's called like borrowed time, living on borrowed time. So I don't want to live on borrowed time. Like, well, I can only take my kids to Disneyland when I can ball out and not have to do anything. And then it's like, what if I die tomorrow?
Yeah.
You know, my poor kids never got to go to Disneyland with me. So it's like finding that I'm trying to integrate that balance of like, okay, I don't want to be going anywhere on the struggle bus anymore. I don't want to be so anxious when I'm out. But then I also want to leave space that, you know what, like not everything's going to perfect. I'm not going to have maybe an unlimited budget. I will have to work with things like, and still trying to find like that middle ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what made you feel safest growing up?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Oh my God. I was terrified. I was so scared my whole upbringing. I was always scared of what would happen, what fight would happen, what that would mean, whether it would escalate. I'm trying to think like who I felt. You know what it was actually? Like, okay, I'm like trying to really reflect here. For me, like my safe space or where I felt the safest was school. So like I've always, like I just told you, like I'm a little hood, right? You get it, Andy. I'm a little hood, and going home was war, right? Like when I went home, somebody was screaming, somebody was fighting, somebody was getting their ass beat, somebody was, you know, it was a struggle. Maybe it wasn't our house. We were going to someone else's house. I'm uncomfortable because I know that this isn't our house. I'm trying to be invisible because we're staying in somebody else's house, you know, like. So for me, like where I felt safest or where I thrived was at school. I've always naturally been a articulate person, well-spoken, expressive. I have always been, it's funny because I have a lot of like, I do feel shy. Like people don't believe me, but I actually really am a shy person. I just push through it because I feel like I gotta say what I gotta say, you know, but I gotta fake it till I make it, like, you know, kind of confidence. But inside sometimes I'm like, ugh. So it was at school where, you know, where some of my natural gifts, like my natural leadership abilities, like educators recognized, oh, okay, she has these natural gifts, these natural talents, you know, she's naturally leading a room, you know, and they poured into me. And so then I started, you know, I was very involved in school. I was in since elementary school, school government. I was in safety patrol. I was in natural leaders. I got to high school. I played sports. I did ASB. I mean, even now, like I planned our 10-year reunion. I'm starting to work on planning my 20-year high school reunion. So school for me was an escape. It was the one place I was going to be safe. No one was going to get cussed at. No one was going to get their ass beat. I had access to food. Like, like I was going to eat. Like, shoot. And people paid attention to me. Nobody paid attention to me.
Shit, you're giving me PTSD now. Shit, man.
Dude, right?
Fuck, you're hitting fucking triggers, man. Damn.
Man.
I need alcohol, not water. I need alcohol, not water.
No,
Shit.
for real. I honestly, I don't know if anyone's ever asked me that. I really had to think, but I will say that I have raised Jaylee like my dad told me something very powerful later in my life when I was like in my early 20s, and it always stuck with me. He told me the only thing people can't take from you is what you know. Your education, what you learn, what you know. You can lose everything. You can lose money. You can lose family. You can lose jobs. You can lose houses. You can lose everything. As I know, I've lost everything multiple times. But what you can never lose, what no one can never take from you, is what you have learned, that knowledge. And that is an opportunity. So I raise my daughter. I'm here to guide you in your education. I'm here to make sure that you don't miss those opportunities. But I empower her. I'm like, this is your homie. This is your ticket. This is your ticket, dog. You do not know what your education, what opportunities. And I ain't got it like that yet, sis. Like, don't worry. I plan to be balling one day. I feel it in my spirit.
Yeah.
But we don't know when that's going to happen. So we need to make sure that we are preparing for you to have any and every opportunity. So like I was saying, telling her, I promise you stability. We applied for her to go from a middle school to a high school. So she would do 8th grade to senior year, which, would be a blessing. She would stay in that same community, have some stability, and it's a performing arts school.
Right.
She wants to get into performing arts. So, having her work through that process with me, having her fill out the application with me, having her, you research you get 3 choices. Hopefully you get one of them. You pick which one you want to go to. You look up these schools. I'm not going there. So really, I believe that education and not even just education in the sense of like a traditional school, but programs, after school programs, anything extracurricular, whether it's through movement, through sports, through whatever, those are lifelines, especially for children like us.
Yeah.
They're lifelines.
Yeah. No, I remember those days coming home from school and I would walk even slower because I didn't want to get home.
The eggshells.
Yeah.
We already knew.
And it's like, it's funny because I just had a conversation with my wife the other day because she called me and she was complaining about the boys that, about the refrigerator, like they just shove anything in the refrigerator. And before
me yesterday with my daughter.
well, before she continued, I told her I had to let her go. And she's like, why? I'm like, I'm sorry, but you're freaking sounding annoying right now. And I hung up on her. But then, and I read you, but then I read you the text message that I sent her. And, and she understood where I came from. I hate that I have to, I hate this. So I hung up on her, right? And
because you felt yourself getting unregulated.
She hit a trigger. So
yes,
I text her and I'm reading my text message. I'm showing you my phone. Look, I'm reading. See that long text message?
Yep. I'm glad I love that.
So I said,
wanted to check in with her.
I said, that came off rude. I'm sorry. Complaining about the boys sets off triggers. I can't tell you because sometimes you get offended that I'm comparing you to someone else. But yes, it's a trigger. Nothing's ever good enough. I would clean the house and she would come home and purposely find something out of place to beat my ass. I wish I didn't have to remember shit like that, but I understand that you can't read my mind. Hence I can never do anything right comments I make, because sometimes she'll say something and I'm like, I can't do shit right around it, So again, I apologize. I am not a person to fucking apologize, but I knew she did not understand why I was getting upset. And
yes, she needed that context.
So, and she responded with, you have no idea how my mood just changed. And when we talked on the phone, I told her, it's like, I hate sometimes telling you my triggers because you take it as I'm comparing you to somebody else, and I'm not trying to compare you to my mother. You just, when you're complaining about something in the past tense, like, hey, okay, the boys don't organize the refrigerator right, then maybe we failed as parents to teach them how to be more organized. So when you're complaining about something that's past tense, it can't get fixed, it's already done, it drives me crazy and it starts to trigger and I start getting upset. But this time, instead of yelling at her or raising my voice, I just said, I'll let you go because you're sounding annoying right now. But then I caught myself. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. And I sent her the text message. I communicate better through text because, I can pour my feelings out. Like I'll draft the email and just vent on this email. And then if I feel like I need to send it, I'll send it. But yes.
Oh, that's such a good tool. That's such a good tool.
Yeah.
That's a therapy tool. I don't know if you know that, but that's
a
literal therapy tool that they teach you when managing your relationships, because a lot of the trauma that you're like explaining, it causes our nervous systems to reprogram, and so I love that. Like, I started seeing someone recently and it's been bringing up a lot of triggers within me. Things. I believe that, and this is my personal take, that, and from my understanding too, and different things I've learned, is that, you can do a lot of healing individually, and you should. There's a lot of inner work people have to do within themselves. But at some point, healing requires relationships.
Yeah.
Whether it's, your romantic, your children, your friendships, your coworkers. We are in relationship with everybody around us.
Yeah.
We are social beings. And so it's not until you get into relationships, especially intimate, and I don't mean intimate only like sexual or romantic, intimate like good friends, intimate like having children. Those intimate relationships become mirrors to you, and they reflect back to you the areas of unhealed trauma until you pinpoint that trigger. Like, you did the work, you recognize, okay, this keeps upsetting me. So that's the first thing. I noticed that when you say this or you do this or this happens, I'm immediately upset. That's the first part. But then it's like recognizing, well, where am I upset? Like in my body, like is it my jaw? Is it my stomach's getting butterflies? Is it my heart's racing? Is it my, my shoulders are tense? Like, and so I would like, you named your trigger to your wife, which is so important. So she knows it's not personal, but that when you said that like comparison thing, like, because it does, it feels like for the other person, it feels like, well, you're holding me accountable or for something that I never did. And so what I've had to learn to explain is it's not even like what is that called? Like a thought, it's not a prevalent thought. It's my subconscious, but it's even deeper than that. It's my body. It's my physical body, my nervous system that is actually responding to feeling unsafe. Because when I've heard words like this before, or I've been brought up these conversations that include this before, or I've been in situations or environments like this before, it wasn't safe for me. And my body memorized that. And when I've been able to articulate to the people that it's like, it's a physical response, that it's not personal. I think that they're like, oh, okay. Oh, wow. Like you're physically going through something, but I don't think it's until we can get into that point and then we can articulate, and then we can start healing, and then having healthy communication skills that you can really start to heal that trigger, and move past it. But I think that that's why it's so important to have solid relationships where you do feel safe, where you do feel loved and supported. So that way you can do what you did with your wife. You can do repair. And
when we were taking counseling, because before I got full custody of my kids, they made me go to a therapist, and they had my wife join in on some of these sessions, and the therapist told her, if you love this man, you need to have a lot of patience because he has a lot of triggers. And Like he would ask me, like every time I would go in there, have you forgiven your mom? And that's the biggest challenge he had for me until the therapist gave up. He gave up, Jay, because he was like, so
you know, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because I feel this. I feel it. I feel it deeply. God's still working on me. God's still working on me.
He every time I would go in there, the first question was, have you forgiven your mother? And I said, no.
Hell no.
No. And then so one day the last time he asked me, he was like, okay, well, why? And I started telling him that everything that she was doing with my younger siblings, even though they don't fucking talk to me and they fucking hate me, I felt for them and I fucking worried about them. And I told him, well, she's not sending them to fucking school. They're sleeping in a fucking car, back and forth in a hotel here and there. So he's like, so what's going on with your siblings right now is obviously triggering your childhood, and that's the reason why you can't forgive her at the moment. I'm like, exactly. Thank you. And he stopped asking. But it reminded me again on Mother's Day 2018. See, you remember shit like this. On Mother's Day 2018, I text her for the very first time, Happy Mother's Day. For the very first fucking time in my life.
And how many in life?
Ever. I mean, when they make you do projects at school, that doesn't fucking count. Yeah. They're forcing you to make those.
I was gonna say how many years since you had texted
the first time.
My dog said ever since I was a kid.
So
I was mandated.
So let's say, yeah, exactly. Let's say in my adult life, that was the first time that I ever text her Happy Mother's Day. Well, guess what? Ask me if I talk to her right now.
I know you don't.
So we don't. I mean, she texted me like recently. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, damn, she's got me beat by 2 text messages. I better text her fucking Happy President's Day and Happy fucking St. Patrick's Day, and we're even.
And we're even.
Unless she texts me again. But no, just like a year later, it bit me in the ass. It's like, what was the point? Even on her birthday, I do text her happy birthday, and I've said it multiple times. Writing the word happy, I fucking struggle. Just to write the word fucking happy. ChatGPT, how can I write happy birthday without using the word happy? Even ChatGPT said there's no way.
Birthday.
That's it.
Hope you enjoy your day of birth.
Okay, there we go. I like that.
I got you.
I like that.
I'm the original.
I'm gonna write that shit down.
I hope you enjoy your day of birth. I be having to tell people sometimes. They be like, side note. I joke I'm the original ChatGPT because I do graphic design. I'm like everyone who's ever had a job interview and a thesis paper, they're going to go try to get a promotion. Like they go to court. They're like, they send me the draft and I'll edit it. I'll work it up, whatever. And so sometimes I have to tell people like, AI didn't write that, just so you know. Or people will ask me like, did AI write that? And I'm like, no, thank you, but no. I did years of reading, and comprehension, and vocabulary. Like again, traumatized childhood, escape through text.
On another side note, you know how I know that you're a '90s baby? That Rocco's Modern Life. Yeah. I've been staring at that shirt for 42 minutes now. Nice. I always get compliments when I wear this one. I was like, I know she's a 90s baby. So let's say, is that one of the memories that makes you smile? Like, is that, like, for example, let me explain.
You see my face?
Yeah, let me explain. So
we just said we're not happy people.
No, but we have to find something. So I listen to, so my wife says I have not one inch of romantic or 1 ounce of romantic in me, right?
Oh.
But there's a whole other story why that, right? I try my best. Okay. I try my best to show my wife I love her.
You do try.
I do try.
Good. You try.
But
okay, good.
So I'll start listening to like Spanish like love songs. We're talking like, we're talking. I don't know if you know who those Bukis are, Temerarios, and all those like they're all love songs, right?
They're like love songs.
Yes.
Like pouring their heart out love songs.
my wife's like, you do understand those are love songs, right? And like, I'm like, yeah. She was like, you have not 1 ounce of love. Like, you don't, I'm like, you should learn from those songs. And I'm like, and I've always hated listening to that music in front of her because I don't critique or criticize me or whatever. So I finally told her, you know what? That music, sad to say, I can sing it word for word. And it was part of the only escape as a child that I had. That is my happy childhood, is music like that. And like, freaking like, what else? When I watch movies, that I watched as a child, those remind me of happy memories. And it wasn't memories that my mom created. It was memories that I created myself by listening to music and Rocco's Modern Life and stuff like that. So that's what I'm asking. Do you feel, is there anything that made you smile during those dark times?
It's so interesting that you say that, as I listen to that and I think about like music and how it's always been in the background. I love music. Music is a big part of I have like a soundtrack throughout my day. I put a certain type of music on when I'm in business mode. I put a certain type of music on when I'm cleaning. I put a certain type of music on when I'm sad, when I'm happy, when I need to like energize myself. And having young parents, there's some cool things about having young parents. You end up pretty cool. Because my parents were listening to R&B, to 90s R&B, to 90s hip hop, to West Coast hip hop. My dad's favorite rappers were DJ Quick or Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, like NWA. And then my mom loved reggae. She loved Bob Marley and the Wailers.
My first English album was Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Exactly. Crossroads.
Yep.
Okay, like
1995, 95, I think. 90, yeah. Whenever the Crossroads in the first of the month, that soundtrack came out, that was my first English, because everything was Spanish. My whole childhood was Spanish up until I got into junior high.
That Bone Thugs speaking you English.
Oh yeah.
That's so cool. But like, so there was a lot of also like reggae, like and again hip hop, R&B, and so like music was always, my parents love music too to this day. My mom, this is a good example of just give you a little image of my parents, like who are hella cool. My parents are cool. Like, they traumatized me, yes, but they're cool people, low key. Like, and my mom, we're having like a Sunday dinner at my house. We always have music on in the background, right? So whether me, my mom, my sister, one of us, if it's not music, we're putting music on. We're like, oh, okay, let's put the music on. So I have on, I think, like reggae, something chill, R&B. My mom's like, let's change the music. Like, I'm going to put the music on. I'm like, all right, Mom, go ahead, put the music on. This woman puts on like Ty Dolla, like Pop Your Pussy. I'm like, Mom, like the most pussy popping song you can think of, right? It's like 1:00 on a Sunday. I'm like, Mother, can we save the pussy?
This is the Lord's Day. It's the Lord's Day.
It's the Lord. You're a Christian. I remember when I told my mom I wanted to stop going to church in high school, and she told me I was going to hell. But she wanted to play pussy popping music on a Sunday.
Right.
Right? Well, we're having damn sandwiches and tea. Right.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I think like when I think back of like, you're right, like happy moments, like for sure, music is a big part of that. Being able to, that was like something that we all enjoyed, that calmed the tension, and is a big part of like now me and my children's life, and right. I've noticed like not all people are like music people like that. Not all people, like I listen to music a lot while I'm out and about because I have really bad social anxiety. Mm-hmm. And so putting my headphones on, I was like, oh geez, my twins are autistic, and the neurologist, when we were getting their diagnoses, it's like a 4-hour appointment, each of them separately, different neurologists, and both neurologists told me like I was high-key autistic myself, probably, which makes a lot of sense. And I was like, oh, like, you see a lot of like autistic kids or adults, like they wear like headphones, for like noise cancellation or to listen to things, because of the sensory overload. And the other day I was like, I always like to wear my headphones in public. Because I feel safer and I don't feel so overwhelmed. And I was like, yeah, I should probably talk to my own neurologist like they were suggesting. Yeah. I was like, I'm a headphoner, huh?
Yeah.
Got it.
As a child, did you ever feel alone?
Oh my gosh, all the time. I felt so alone. I definitely felt very isolated in my experience because I knew that what was going on in my home wasn't normal. You know what I mean? Like, even though it was normal, and I didn't realize how much abuse and violence was normalized to me until, I'll go back to my child, but until like my mid-20s, when I had seen a group of friends. I want to be careful. I'm not what I say. I'd seen, like, after a drunken night, to a friend of mine, husband and wife, they had a little moment, right? And I confided into my best friend about it at the time, but like, not thinking it was like a big deal. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh dang. In the Uber on the way back, girl, like, it got a little popping up in there, like, like laughing, joking. And then, it ended up becoming like a bigger conversation. And it was also around the time that, like, I think like Chris Brown was coming out with a documentary about what his abuse with Rihanna. And so, there was kind of this bigger conversation around like domestic violence and things like that. Again, I grew up in a very domestic violent home. Like, I ended up in, domestic violence relationships myself. And so I was like, for me, it wasn't, I don't know, I guess it just wasn't that big of a deal. And so it wasn't until like, my best friend was like, no, Jessenia, like, that's not normal. Like, partners aren't supposed to do that to their partner, like, on any level, not one time, not this way, not that way. Like, no, and I was like, oh yeah, like, I guess you're right. Like, that isn't normal just to have a quick, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so, but going back to like my childhood, like, nobody was like, you're not on the playground. Like, oh yeah, I saw my mommy get her ass beat last night. Like, want to go push me on the swings? Like, so, but I knew because like I was taught like, this is family business. What happens in the house stays in the house. Like, you're not like to tell your business. And on the outside, we looked like such a perfect family, attractive father, beautiful mother, cute little girls, like, but behind closed doors, and we're all fun people, like I said, my parents are cool people. They're fun. They're this, they're that. They're very liked. They're very respected. They're a good time. And so we're all out, but behind closed doors, it was like World War III. And so, I don't know, like, I was always scared. I always felt alone because I didn't have anyone I could really talk to about what was going on. It wasn't until middle school when we moved into a home and my neighbor across the street, a young girl who was my same age, and her father, she was being raised by her single father, and she had her own, trauma that she went through, losing her mom at a young age and etc. Well, she heard an episode at my house, her and her dad, and they called the police, and so, I was outside one day and she was outside not long after, and she we're like 12 years old, 11 years old. She comes to introduce herself, like, to like want to be my friend, or, and she's like, but she knows that she's already heard what's gone on in my house, and her father called the police. And so she's kind of nervous to tell me. She's like, hey, like, we're the ones, and, I'm so-and-so, and like, can we be friends? And I'm like, yeah, we can be friends. Like, you heard what's going on in my house. Like, so she was like one of the first people that like I could talk to because she already knew my secret. You know what I mean? And then in high school, one of my really good friends who actually started a whole organization called Break the Silence Against Domestic Violence. And I helped her organize her first like retreat for that. But we became fast friends because in high school, I don't remember how we disclosed to each other that, our parents were in abusive relationships that we were, growing up in, or grew up in a home where there was domestic violence. Yeah. And so when you're able to actually find somebody that you can confide in and that understands what you're going through, and then you start to feel like, okay, but otherwise it can be very lonely. And I think that's why I often feel lonely as an adult. And I have to be careful about not seeping into isolation, because it's very natural for me, and it can be an unhealthy coping mechanism where I'll just sit there and isolate because I feel so like alone, and like nobody understands what I'm going through and how I'm feeling and what position I'm in and how my back is against the wall and I'm looking at every angle and there ain't a light in sight. Yeah. But that's where like my faith came in, and like that's where you really have to dig deep to find whatever it is to keep you moving forward and making different choices and figuring out how to actually process and heal, so you don't end up on this hamster wheel of fucking yourself like I've been on for my whole life. I'm like, right. Oh, okay, gonna be 37 this year. About time you learn some lessons, bitch. Like with love and gentleness to myself. Right. But also like, oh, let's recognize patterns. Let's actually stop just intellectualizing and conceptualizing. Let's actually start applying and and integrating, so that way, because life is still gonna life, and there's still gonna be my triggers, and there's still going to be a lot of obstacles that I'm still trying to navigate and figure out. But it's like relationships are still not unhealed. There's still hurt and resentment and frustration and misunderstanding and forgiveness to be had on all ends, including from me and for me. But it's like I have to learn how to respond, react, recover, repair better. Right. So that way my life can continue to progress, and I can provide not just stability, but joy and memories and moments and security and advancement for my children now, because when you become a parent, when you decide, as like when we had that conversation, I love men. Like I love men. I connect well with men, but I also, I trust him as far as I could throw him. You know what I mean? I trust y'all as far as I could throw you. I'm still a man. And I know men well. Ooh. Okay? I know men too well. Whether it's family members, I grew up around my bunch of cousins. I went to barber school. I've been in the barber shop for years. I have I used to pod with 2 men. Some of my best friends are men. My cousins, so I get kind of behind the veil access, which I consider like a privilege. And then also, I like to have some fun. Right. Little pillow talk access, So, but with that, like I'm also, so part of me is very like, yes. And then part of me is also like, what is this mofo? What's he about? And so when you told me, your story and, your children and, everything. I don't know how much you've shared about your children and taking all of it. Have you talked about that?
Everything.
Okay. So yeah, you saw I was trying to tread lightly. Yeah. So when you told me that you got full custody of your children and especially your daughter, and I was like, oh, that's my dog. Like I told you right then and there, like you have my ultimate respect, because I realized that like with my oldest daughter, I was in my 20s. I was just, like I said, I was just running her through the muck with me, poor thing. And then when I think about my twins, I had them in my early 30s and I had a different mindset. I'm like, oh, when you're a parent, your life is not your life like that anymore. Your life needs to now be about supporting your children, everything that you're doing and working towards and whatever. And that doesn't mean that you're just like give up on your dreams and goals and your own personal fulfillment. And because no, you still got to do you, and you still have to have time to feel like a man or a woman, whatever. But everything should be building there. They should be little blocks that you're building towards helping advance your children. And if you're a parent, like that's the mindset that has to shift. And I didn't have it right away. I'm still like, oh, okay, this is the bigger goal. This is actually what I'm doing here. It's less about what I get to fulfill and more about what I'm going to make sure my children have the opportunity to at least try to do, you
Right.
know? And so I think that like, when I can see that people have that same like mindset where they're like, no, like my children need to be my priority. Do you think that's because we both like were not priorities in our parents' lives? Like,
Uh,
because I know, like,
I,
I wonder if that, you know what I mean? Like that really like intentional, we need to make sure that our kids, we know that we're there for them and that we
oh,
provide is because,
100%. I finally,
okay.
I've said it multiple times on here. So for those of you who have listened for a while, sorry, I repeat myself all the time. I learned, I learned at age 40 that my mom does not love me. That's it. I've accepted it. That it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So I've always made sure I may struggle with showing my kids affection, but they know that I love them.
Yeah.
They know that I love them. My wife.
Yeah.
I struggle with showing her affection, but she knows that I love her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, I did tell her that if Talia were to come to my house, of course I'm going to cheat on her. But that's it. That's it.
We all have a hall pass.
Exactly.
We all have a hall pass. And y'all always like to talk about your hall pass, but the minute that we start talking about ours,
No,
y'all want to.
no.
Exactly.
She has hers. She has hers. So remember in the episode of Friends where Joey made a list and he laminated it, and it only counts if it's laminated and there's five names
Yes.
on there. Okay, well everybody has. My son has watched the show Friends 3 times. Run it back. He
Oh, my
ran it back,
goodness.
and so now apparently everybody has a list, and my wife made a list. I think freaking Pascal is on there.
Oh, good choice.
Right.
I'd have him on mine.
Yeah. So, what do you call it?
That's so
So, yeah,
funny.
no, they know that I love them. I may not show it, but they know that I love them.
Yeah.
Before we continue, you want to take a quick little water break?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pause it.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Uh-huh.
Me too.
Need auto insurance or an SR22? Like now, SolarX Insurance gets you covered fast. No license, no problem. We speak your language, shop the best rates, and get you back on the road today. Call 877-736-4719. That's 877-736-4719. Visit slxinsurance.com or call now 877-736-4719. Quick, easy, done. Solar X Insurance. Drive with confidence.
And we are back. I needed that. I've been drinking water and I needed to use the restroom. So,
Yeah, no, exactly. I was like, all right, let me rest my voice and let me refocus my mind. I'm like, I'm over here just chit chatting away with you like you're my long lost brother. I'm like, hold on, because I did. Like we've talked about, I really do appreciate the opportunity to have the platform and the ability to like share my story in kind of one setting.
you're
I've
right.
shared a lot of my story scattered, and it'd be nice to kind of give a nice, good like context.
Yeah.
You know.
So before we touch on your teen years, I have one more question to ask. What did family mean to you back then as a child?
I think that like I always wanted that sense of family, which is why I often like would have a good friend and that friend had like a mom, a dad, and their house felt safe, and I would kind of become like a part of that family. And so often, like even as an adult, I would seek family within my chosen family, my friends and their family who have become my family, you know?
Yeah.
But I also like, I want to say, because I am in like trying to repair and heal things with my parents, and I don't want to just make it seem like it was all terrible. There were definitely moments where, you know, there's dancing and there was, you know, the occasional vacation or the occasional Christmas, or, you know, they're jet skiing. Like there are moments that like I really have had fun with my parents, you know, and because they're young and they're fun people, and they have like good people in their lives, you know,
Yeah.
their friends, their chosen family, like ride for them, that like, and I've learned from them, their business ethic, they're hardworking, like, you know, they came from teen parents and they're both successful, hardworking people who have built lives for themselves. And so I have respect for them. And even though there's periods of years that we go without speaking to one another, we always find our ways back to each other. And so for me, like, I think that's why, like, I've decided no more, like, no contact. I have a speech one time that I gave, and it's about, like, you know, boundaries turning into barbed wire fences, where it's like our boundaries are meant to protect us. But at some point, if our boundaries are also keeping out people that we love or people that want to love us, we need to reevaluate, you know? And so I'm like, all right, I keep trying to cut these people off and it ain't working. So like, you know, I guess that I'm just shifting from that, you know.
I'm sorry, go for it.
No, yeah. So I appreciate, you know, my parents for at least us trying to move forward in our ways, even our broken ways, even our misunderstanding ways. You know, I had a conversation with my mom very recently, and it quickly got triggering for both of us. And, you know, she did apologize. She was like, I am sorry. She's like, I recognize how my mom's in therapy now. I'm really proud of her for that. So she's starting to put things together. And she's like, she's apologized to me before for a lot of things. And she apologized, you know, and was like, I'm sorry. But she was kind of edgy with it, you know, and I was like, you don't sound that sorry. Like, you know, and then also I'm like, I'm not upset about all these other things. I'm upset about the things right now, you know, but I appreciate you trying, you know, maybe it's not exactly how I wanted or how I would like it to sound, but I do appreciate you trying. My dad coming and texting after so long of ghosting me, like, okay, it's hurtful, and I wish we could have a deeper conversation, but we're not there yet. I'm glad you did let me know you're coming to town, and you did tell me you want to see me and my children. Like, that does mean something to me. So, you know, I do love them, and I'm trying to move forward, but I'm also still deeply traumatized.
But I do give your mom props for something. She said, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll never get that. I'll never get that.
And I've talked to other, you know, adults and friends and acquaintances, and, you know, they've said that. And I do, especially like with, you know, parents from a different generation, different cultural backgrounds, you know. So I am blessed that my mom has over the years been able to like recognize and say like, hey, like, this wasn't cool. Yeah. And I am sorry. And I did, you know, own up to like, you know, some serious things that she put me through. And so for now, it's kind of like, okay, I appreciate that. Let's move forward. But now let's recognize how those dynamics play into our relationships now. Specifically, not only just with us, but with your grandchildren and my siblings, and how our relationship poisons into those relationships, you know? Right. And so that's the part that we're like still like, everyone's still so defensive. Everyone's still so hurt. Everyone still doesn't trust on both sides. So it's like, you know, we got through step one, like, you know, and a lot of people don't get there, like you said. So I give my mom respect, and a lot of people, like, you know, they have said, like, you know, appreciate your mom for that.
You know, and I've said it like recently, like, I've gone to the point where I realized, wait a minute, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't speak Spanish, you know? So I'm thankful for that, you know? Because I was told, I was told a couple of years ago, your Spanish is going to open doors when you go to Mexico. Went to Mexico. Again, I repeated the story before. Went to Mexico, and what do you call it? The immigrant guy, whatever his name is, whatever he is, he looked at our passports, and I started talking Spanish, and he was like, holy shit, where you from? And I'm like, I guess from here. That's where we landed. And he stamped our passports as we're chatting away, and everybody else he had there for like 15, 20 minutes. Us, he let us right through. We get to the last, the last guard that's going to let us into the country, out into the country. And the same thing. We're talking, doesn't even search my bags. I could have had a kilo of Coke. Didn't even check.
That gift to gab, baby. That gift to gab. We'll get you every time.
You know?
No, it isn't.
The whole moving thing, I actually, I'm actually glad that she did. I'm glad that she was financially irresponsible. I'm glad that she did all that, because that made me the opposite. You know, I already have an Excel sheet printed on my wall of every bill that's due for the year 2026, not the month, January, February, the year. And as the bill gets paid off, I scratch it off. Boom, 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 done, done, done. So I do thank her for stuff like that. Now I see it as an adult. Wait a minute. Yeah, she fucked up, but it made me a better person. So
yeah, I think, and that's what it's like, finding gratitude and empathy, because even it's like, okay, well, we moved a lot, but like she did her best to at least have a roof, something to cover us and sleep in. And I think like that's important. Like, you know, like I said, like my mom choosing to give me life, like that's really important to recognize and to give them grace. And like for me, a part of being able to forgive my mom and move forward is recognizing what kind of mother she did or she didn't have.
yeah.
You know, like I said, my mother was raised by a mother who was, you know, like
I get it.
was with it, and was also dealing with her own mental health illness and her own addictions and battles. And her father was an alcoholic. She didn't have no parents like that. She was exposed to lots of things at very young ages, inappropriate things, unsafe environments, you know, witnessing her own acts of abuse and drug use and alcohol. And you know what I mean? Her dad used to take her to the bar with her. Like there's so many stories that I've heard of my mother's childhood, and then it was a very short childhood, you know? So like, and then when I talked to my mom's mom, you know, we didn't talk for years. And as I've gotten to know her more, and I found out, you know, I knew her mother abandoned her. So my grandmother was abandoned by her mother when she was 2 years old. Her mother was abandoned by her mother. So my great-grandmother was raised in a brothel by her aunt, where my grandmother was born and lived the first 2 years of her life in LA in a brothel.
Yeah.
So having a conversation with my grandmother, my nana, my mom's mom, and being like, hey, like, what happened with your mother? Why weren't you raised by your mother? Like, why? And then finding out, like, oh, you were treated horribly by your dad's mother and by your stepmother.
Right.
And you had, as a little girl, and you had all these lack of resources. And, oh, you were born in a brothel. Your mother was raised in a brothel. Oh, that's my lineage? That's my, like, I'm like, oh, we talk about mother wounds. We talk about deep, like, nobody learning how to mother, everybody like learning through survivalhood. And I was like joking with my mom. I'm like, that's our legacy. My mom got all of, you know, by now you can tell I joke a lot. That's how I get through all this. Like, but my mom was like, that, don't you say that's not our legacy? But my mom had no idea. You know, she had no idea. And so I'm like, okay, when I gotta, like, all right, how hard can I be on these ladies?
So what you're saying? So what you're saying is that your bloodline goes all the way to Game of Thrones.
We some hoes. No, I'm joking.
Oh my god.
Live juice.
What happened? Exactly. What happened till we're gonna stay on track?
My big tata found my big nana in a whorehouse.
Oh my god! What happened to where we're gonna stay on track?
I'm so sorry. Reel me back in. See, you gotta.
I'm trying to, but I'm not trying to cut you off.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have to continue this episode next week for sure. Anyways, again, let's touch back onto your teenage years. Let's go back to the teenage years. As a teen, what was your heart searching for?
Probably like attention and affection. I like, you know, I think that like, I felt, you know, I didn't get along with my parents well. And by then my dad had moved out of the city, like 5-6 hours away. And it was just my mother, me, my sister, and then eventually my tata, my grandfather, moved in with us in like a small apartment. And I was very involved in school, like in middle school and high school. I was very involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, like we said, like, you know, really feeling safe and seen at school and in those kind of extra activities. But yeah, I think that like I was like, and like family, like I said, like, you know, I would have good friends and I would spend a lot of time with their families because my mom was like a single mother. She was always working 2-3 jobs. You know, she was always hustling. She was involved in a lot of her own activities. And then she was also, you know, my sister's almost 8 years younger than me. She's about 8 years younger than me. So she had more focus on her, you know? And so, yeah, I think that like I was looking probably for like a sense of belonging. I didn't have like those best friends because we were always moving, and I didn't have, my dad was away and wasn't talking to me. And then like me and my mom never got along, and, you know, and not everybody knew like the dynamic of what was going on in my household and in my mind, my heart, my body, you know?
So it's obvious it's obvious that your relationship with your parents completely changed as a teen.
Yeah, I think that's when like where all the stuff that happened during the childhood started bubbling up, you know, where like now I have a temper, now I'm like talking back, now my mom's constantly telling me like, you sound just like your father, you look just like your father, you're acting just like your father, and I'm like, oh well, you hate my father.
I wouldn't know what that means. I wouldn't know.
Like, oh,
I never knew my father.
You know, maybe you're lucky. Okay, I'm like, oh, so you're comparing me to the person that I've seen, you know, do harm to you, like, you know, and so that like that eats away at you.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, my father was upset because we had to like we had to go incognito for a bit for some things. And so some things were put in order and he wasn't able to have access to us. And he was upset that I wouldn't give him that access, you know. And so we didn't talk for many years. You know, he came to my high school graduation after several years, maybe I think 2 years of no contact. And he ended up showing up at my high school graduation, and, you know, again, we just, and onward we go, you know. Like, so, you know, it was already in my teen years. And then even like having, you know, starting to have strained relationships with some of my grandparents, you know, it was already, there was already turmoil, there was already frustration, there was already distress, there was already hurt, and there was already still, you know, acts of escalation, aggression, and, you know, shit getting real, you know? So
do you feel you grew up too fast?
I feel that I was exposed to a lot of situations, environments, explicit things as far as like drinking, drugs, alcohol, sex, like at a young age. Again, my parents were very young, and it wasn't like they were like in like a weird way, you know what I mean, exposing me to things. They were just doing their thing. Right. and I'm just along for the ride. But that also put, you know, me in situations that were scary, you know, in situations that there was violence and there was things that I was seeing and smelling and noticing and being exposed to that. Again, hey guys, we're on the playground. Like, what you see your parents do last weekend? You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't talk about, you know. So, yeah, I think that was starting to play into effect. You know what I mean?
Due to your childhood, do you feel that you were looking for love in all the wrong places? Because I can say that I think that's the reason why my mom had us at a young age, because my mom also had me at 16. So I feel that because my grandma and my grandpa did not show love. Like they if you think I don't show love to my family, they really, like, my grandma freaking died when me forcing her to try to say I love you. She told my kids she loved them. I'm like, oh shit. So now my kids throw that in my face saying, hey, at least your grandma loved us and not you. I'm the fuckers. So,
you know,
do you feel that
grandparent love is different,
right? Do you feel that you had to find love and like searching for love in other places?
Oh yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people do. Like, you know, when we don't feel that familiar love, that family love, you start seeking it in like through friendships and through romantic relationships, validation. Like, you know, we'll get more into that like when we talk about my marriage, but definitely like, you know, wanting to be parented almost by your spouse and wanting to feel like fill that gap. And that starts when you're like young and your hormones are going and you're like feeling this need. And whether it's like through sex or through attraction or flirting, like I think I learned at like a young age being considered attractive by, you know, the opposite sex, that like, oh, I liked when somebody likes me. You know what I mean? And even now, like, I have to be like, oh, you don't have to make a whole man your whole personality. Like, you can love somebody, you can have a relationship with them, but you still cannot, you don't have to become consumed by them, you know, because you don't want to lose their love. You know what I mean? You don't have to keep performing. You don't have to keep chasing. You don't have to keep, you know, feeling like, am I going to be abandoned? Because that's the thing. I have a big sense of abandonment. You know, I have an anxious attachment style with a deep rooted trauma and abandonment. And so whenever I meet somebody and I'm like feeling like those feelings of like comfort that I've been seeking my whole life, that I have to make sure that I don't seek in a man. Because from a young age, and even through my 20s, and then after going through, you know, separating from my husband, I'm like, oh, I have to be careful not to use men and sex and lust and romance as a distraction or as like a drug or a substance, or to dissociate or to fill that void of somebody choose me, somebody love me. Because the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally, when you don't feel like that love is unconditional, it's dependent on your behavior, it's dependent on your obedience, it's dependent on their mood, it's dependent on whatever. Yeah. Then it's like you're always feeling like pick me, you know, and that's where like that pick me girl comes from. It comes from us feeling, you know, like we need to be chosen in order to be validated as a person, as a woman. Yeah. And so I think that like I've noticed my allure with men, but I've noticed I knew that I was using that to like fill something up, you know?
You said you became a mom young. You became a teen mom, right? Or was I wrong? Was that your mom? That was you? No,
my mom became a teen mom, but I got pregnant at like 21, 22. Okay. So I was terrified to be. My mom didn't teach me about sex. She just taught me to fear it and men and boys. Oh, okay. She was like, you know, she was so scared of me becoming a teen mom that it was more just like, you know, don't let any boys touch you or come near you. All boys want from you is sex. All men want from you is sex. Like
the coach from Mean Girls, you're gonna get chlamydia and die.
No, literally, like literally. Okay.
Oh my god! You know what? Till this day, that movie is classic. I mean, if you haven't seen Mean Girls, shame on you. We just watched it recently, a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that's a pop culture classic for sure. For sure.
And I use the he doesn't even go here all the time. When my when my boys were still in band, the seniors that graduated after, you know, they would come and still support, and I'll see them in the crowd and I'll be like, he doesn't even go here.
I used to.
They're like, you never. And then my boys defend their friends by saying, at least they went to school, Dad. Oh God, here we go. Yeah, assholes.
Why do our kids be coming for us, man?
It's funny because I told them a story how back in the day their mom told me that my kids did not love me and my kids did not need me, right? So for 2 weeks, I didn't pick them up. All right. They don't need me. They don't love me. Cool. The mother of my kids called me like 2 weeks later, like nonstop, one after the other. I think I finally answered the phone after the 10 missed call. What do you want?
God.
And it was my son saying, Daddy, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. So I'm on my way. So I picked him up and I told the mother of my kids, please never tell me that my kids don't love me or don't need me, because here we are today, right? So I shared that story with them, and they don't fucking remember that day. But every time they have a stab to throw, they're like, remember that day you left us alone for 2 weeks? I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Remember that one time you left us for 2 weeks, Dad? I'm like, oh my God.
Probably to this day, the longest you've ever been without them.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like
100%.
Literally.
They're like, Dad, remember that one time you went to jail and you were gone? I'm like, oh my God. You weren't, and I tell my youngest, Julian, you weren't even fucking born yet, dude.
Yeah.
He goes, but I still remember.
Why are you bringing up old shit?
Right?
Why are you bringing up old shit?
Fuck, my own kids fucking throw my past in my face compared to other people. Oh my God.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
I cannot. Our kids be the first ones, man.
Yeah.
But I be having to tell because me and my daughter, we have a pretty jokey relationship. We're both sarcastic. We both like to joke around. We're both pretty sassy but sensitive. But sometimes she be like, she be crossing it a little bit. And I'd be like, hey, kick back.
Yeah.
I'm still your mama. I ain't your homie.
No, they'll get on me where my wife will start seeing my face and she'll even tell them, hey, yeah. You guys are overdoing it now. Now you guys are hurting your dad. Like, you guys are going way below the belt. And they'll be like, they'll tell me, at least I know who my dad is. I'm dicks. I never knew my father. Oh, them motherfucking kids, dude. They'll get me.
They'll be the first one.
Oh, they'll get me.
They'll be the first one.
They have jokes for days, man. It's like, no, there's, like I said, there was this one time where my wife had to stop them and say, hey, that's enough. You guys are crossing the line and you guys are hurting your dad's feelings. Enough.
Okay, exactly. So it's just me. So I be having to advocate for myself. Like, okay, all right.
That just reminds me that I didn't beat my kids enough.
Yeah, I know. Like I say that I'm like, oh, I'm so scary. My kids think I'm a joke. Okay, they're like, mom's yelling. All right, 5 minutes later, we're going to the park. Yeah. We're doing this. We're doing that. But I really that's one thing. I'm really trying to work on regulation. Like, I don't want to be snappy. I don't want to when I'm feeling overstimulated. So that I'm constantly apologizing to my kids, trying to self-correct, trying to, okay, let me avoid my meltdowns. I need to be regulated if I want the kids to be regulated. And sometimes the kids are going to test you. My kids are going to mess with you. And they say the safer that your kids feel with you, because when they're out in the world, they have to behave and they have to do this and they have to do that. Their home should be their safe place. Yeah. So that's why they act out the most at home. That's why they act out the most with you, because they feel like they can just be. Yeah. So I'm like, I want my kids. I don't like how you said me and you grew up where it was at home. We were walking on eggshells. What kind of mood is everybody in? What's going down? Did I clean? Is the house exactly how it's supposed to be to help create peace? I don't want my kids to feel that way. So it's I don't want to be. I grew up with very reactive parents. I'm a very reactive person. It's something I'm not going to claim. That. I am learning to become a less reactive person, because I have seen how you can't control what's happening. You can only control how you respond to it.
And to touch on what you're saying about the boys, my brother, who wasn't raised by my mom, he was raised by my grandmother. He comes and he visits, sometimes, and he sees my interaction with the boys and stuff like that. And he tells me even though they're clowning on you, that's just all love, man. Your boys love you, dude. And so he's like, that's just all it's just funny to hear you guys. It's funny because when the conversation does get heated, he doesn't. To him, his mom passed away, and I kind of feel the same way. Our grandmother passed away in 2021, and I'm
so sorry.
And whenever he see when he comes, because he comes and he'll stay here for a month or two at a time, and we love it. We have this guest bedroom.
Oh, that's cool.
We have this guest bedroom, and it gets used when he's here. He actually is the one
Yeah.
that set up my whole background here. Like he moved it around. And I had an idea, and before I can even touch it, he did it. I'm like, all right. He likes to make himself useful, and
That's good. I like that.
so
It looks good too.
whenever he hears us kind of like starting to bicker with one another, he'll get up and he says, "I think I hear my mom calling me," and he'll walk out of that.
Awkward.
Yeah, right. Or he has long hair, so he says, "I have to go wash my hair," and you walk. That's his.
Like,
that's his way of telling us this conversation is getting a little too awkward for my likings. So I'm gonna walk away.
You know how
when we say, huh, Danny, he's like, I think I hear my mom calling me. He doesn't want to get involved.
Yeah, don't drag me into this.
Right.
For real.
So let's get back on track. So what did you think love should feel like as an adult? Like now we're getting into your marriage and stuff. So what did you think love should have felt like?
Oh Lord. I think that like I had no clue, and that's why I made not good relationship choices and went into a marriage without knowing like what love really is, what it should feel like, what you should be looking for in a relationship. I think that like a lot of people, even who didn't maybe grow up with like traumatic backgrounds, were not really taught the fundamentals of what it takes to have a stable, growth-oriented, loving, healthy relationship. We're taught like, oh, you're attracted to somebody, they like, you feel butterflies, you guys get along, you have common interests, they make you laugh, like, you kind of want the same things in life. Like, yeah, that's your person, like we're kind of taught to focus on kind of like the surface level things versus like, really understanding and having those conversations pre-marriage, pre-relationship, like, hey, what are the things that you've experienced in life? What triggers you? How do you see like raising your children? How do you see managing the household? What if I want to work? What if you don't want to work? How do we want to do the bit, like, the nitty gritty? And so I think that like I didn't know that. So I went into, and I know a lot of people go into relationships kind of on those surface level checklists versus like that deep, not only like how are we going to manage and merge our lives and our lifestyles, but also like how do we help each other heal, and how do we trigger each other, and how do we respond to each other's trigger? Are we safe people for each other? Do we have the patience for one another to understand and to work through things? Do we both have enough healing? Do we both have enough emotional intelligence? Do we want to practice grace, patience, growth, and build with this person? And I didn't know any of that when I got married, or before, when I was looking through relationships. I was just like, oh, like I feel like you're someone makes me feel a certain way, and so now that means that we should be in a relationship. But that leads to a lot of unhealthy relationship dynamics. And I also didn't have any relationship skills. I never learned how to communicate my frustrations or my fears or, whatever. It was like, if I'm mad, I'm yelling. If I'm sad, I'm crying. If I'm scared, I'm isolating. Like,
Right.
Or I'm blowing up. Like, so I think that's what I was saying. Like, I realize now, like, how important my friendships, my romantic relationships, my parental relationships are, because they're all opportunities for me to continue still in real time, because I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and I'm still have a lot of room to grow myself. But, I recognize, and I'm trying to put into practice, like, responding and handling my relationships differently. So that way I can eventually become a partner that knows what real love feels like. And that, to me, real love should feel like safety. It should feel like security. It should feel like comfort. But I don't think that it should feel like, I don't think that someone else should make you feel secure. Like, that has to come within that. But I do believe in a relationship, you should feel like, through someone's actions, like, okay, yeah, I'm here for you in this supportive role. for each other and for us individually and for the sake of our family. And so that's really what I'm looking for, like in love and in a partner moving forward.
So I take it you started seeing patterns in your relationship from your childhood.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. So like just like, you know, ending up in abusive relationships, ending up in relationships with narcissistic men, ending up in these dynamics, you know, and recognizing also like, why am I not noticing these behaviors before? Why am I staying? Why am I so comfortable? Or why does this seem normal or not so extreme to me? You know, because I've experienced this most of my life. And so it is my normal. But, oh, wait, this is not actually healthy and normal. Like, this is toxic and dangerous and going to destroy me and my, you know, children's lives.
Right.
So I think that, like, definitely. But then also processing, like, being so upset with myself, because I always told myself, like, I was, you know, one of the hardest things I had to forgive my mother about was exposing me to the kind of lifestyle and the kind of abuse that I witnessed, and also had to like participate in stopping. And so, you know, I was very upset about that for a long time. Like, how could you like stay? You know, like, how could you stay? Like, and how could you keep going back? How the hell could we finally got out and now we're going back again? Not the first, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but a trillion times, multiple times a year. Like, we keep doing this dance. And then, you know, I swore I'll never be that woman. I'll never end up in a relationship like that. I would leave. You know, ended up working with domestic violence victims or survivors, and not victims, survivors, and, you know, doing advocacy work and facilitation work. Meanwhile, like, I'm in an abusive relationship. Meanwhile, you know, I'm the entire time I'm podcasting, I'm in an abusive marriage, and 2 people on this world know, you know what I mean? Like, and so realizing.
So while
like,
you're
oh
spreading the message of domestic violence and you're giving people help, you're living through it.
Exactly. In real time. And then also working in it. And then also, like, throughout my life, meeting women and saying, like, you know, I have multiple stories throughout my life, like a coworker who was younger than me when I was working out of high school, and her telling me about her relationship with her boyfriend, and me saying, like, oh, hey, him locking you out of the house when he's mad at you, no, that's not normal. Like, gently, like, hey, this might be toxic, abusive. Hey, him pointing a gun at you when you guys are fighting, like him bringing out the gun and putting it on the table and just making you aware that he has a gun while you guys are fighting. You know, that's an act of aggression. That's not normal. Hey, him choking you, like, you know, and then like, oh, okay, now, baby, okay, now you're ready. You're in an abusive relationship. We need to get out of this. Like, these are the steps. These are the tools, you know, and then encouraging, talk to your family. Like, you need to rope people in. And then, you know, her mom working at the same school we are, and a few months later, coming up to me in the hallway and saying, like, thank you, come into my classroom, please. And like literally crying and thanking me, being like, I knew there was something wrong with my daughter. She was been fading away from us. I had a feeling it was because of this relationship, but I couldn't get through to her. She was so isolated from us. And she told me, like, that you helped her be aware of the situation and you walked her through it. And like, you saved my daughter's life. Like, I was, you know, and then having multiple, you know, a best friend who was in an abusive relationship with my cousin for years, and, you know, walking her through that. Like, so there's been this theme of my life, you know, like, where domestic violence has like consumed and surround not only me, but all of women and men. I know men who have been abused as well. Like, it's not just a woman. It's not rich, poor. It's not black. It's not white. It's not Middle Eastern. It's not American. It is a domestic violence, a partner abuse. So we don't even get gender. Partner abuse is a universal, deep rooted thing. And people don't talk about it because who wants to talk about it? But in my life, it has been so prevalent and it's been so devastating. And I'm like determined, like, I'm like, this cannot be my life. This cannot be my story. Like,
Yeah.
but also like, I feel privileged to be able to have had women and men walk with me in my journey and help me, get out of it and help me. And also vice versa. Like, it's hard because I struggle with like that hypocrite, like being a hypocrite. But I'm also like, you know what? Like, I was where I needed to be at the right time to be able to recognize what was happening from someone. And that comes from lived experience. You know, I used to think a lot like, why? Like, I used to struggle with my relationship with God and think like, why me? Like, why am I going through these things? Why am I experiencing dark things like this? And then there was a switch where I was like, you know what? Like, I understand, like, I've experienced these things and these things are helping me like empathize and understand and relate and have more grace and more a different lens that then allows me to, by the grace of God, share that lens with others, like, and change the narrative of like, well, why don't just women walk away? Like, why they're stupid? Like, why can't they just leave? And it's like, because XYZ. Let me get into the deep rooted psychology of why women cannot just leave their abusers. Let me tell you why. Yeah, even though just because I was homeless and there was a house here, the real reason why I moved from California to Florida, because I knew that if I did not remove myself that far, that I would probably end up back with my husband, because I love him so much, because I would have continued to forgive him, because I wanted my family, because I didn't want to be homeless again, because I was scared of being poor, because I didn't want to be abandoned. You know what I mean? Even though I know, like, this is not normal. If I go back, the abuse will happen. So I know that it takes an average of a woman 7 times leaving her abuser to finally leave for the last time. And a lot of women don't make it, or their children don't make it. So it was, like, that is such a big part of like my story, but I also like refuse to have it be my story, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So, I'm assuming you missed, now you know what red flags are and you missed them all.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. I didn't know what red flags are. And I also didn't like, we think that like, oh, somebody's making us nervous or I feel anxious. Like I really like them. Yeah. I joke around. I tell people, I'm like, nah, those aren't butterflies. That's your nervous system responding, telling you, bitch or dude, run. This is unsafe here. Yeah. Like, so I definitely have, learned to listen to my intuition, understand where I'm coming from. Am I seeking just some fun right now? I'm just trying to have a good time, or am I, am I sad? Am I lonely? Am I seeking friendship, companionship? So definitely, noticing what are the red flags, but then also noticing the place internally where I'm coming from when I'm seeking the company of someone else.
Right. Can you explain some of the red flags that we all missed?
I think that like
let's just say that it took me fucking 3 terms into county to fucking learn to fucking look for the red flags.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Exactly. Oh, you mean if somebody has you acting out of character, maybe that's a red flag? You mean if we're cussing each other out on the side of the road, maybe that's a red flag? You mean...
Or within 9 months of being together, she cheats on you with an underage kid? Oh, wait.
Oh, no.
That's a red flag.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wait.
I know.
She does you dirty with your 15-year-old brother. That's a red flag.
Dude. It's hard. If we know better, we do better. And again, because I think that it's not just the red flags in other people. It's also, like I was saying, like recognizing within ourselves, like, why are we willing to abandon ourselves, abandon our values, abandon our boundaries, abandon our intuition, in the sake of not losing somebody we love? Or why are we willing to give so many opportunities? Or even like me, why would I be willing to put myself back in a situation that could be, detrimental to my health, my mental, physical health? And it's like, because of these unhealed wounds. And so it's like recognizing that that's going to be first how you learn, okay, what are the red flags? Why am I, recognizing, okay, what is it about me that I'm willing to accept or that I'm attracting, that's even letting people even in the arena for flags to be thrown. Okay. Yeah. Like, why are you even making it through the gate? Like, fuck the flag. Well, how did you get entrance? How do you have access? And so doing that work, but then now when you're in it, and that's why, but it's hard. Like there's, been so many periods in my life where I just want to shut down, and I'm like, I don't want friends. I don't want family. I don't want dating or loved ones, because I don't want to get hurt, or I don't want to act crazy, or I don't want to lose them, or I don't want to ruin it, but it's like the only way to be able to push through is to open yourself up. So now that I've opened myself up, and I'm like, okay, I've did enough work to recognize, okay, who should at least have access or not, who should get VIP, who should get general admission, who's just standing in the background for free, get a watch on the big screen. Like, how close, how much of proximity am I going to give you to me? Okay, so now I'm gauged that. Right. I have more trust in myself. And now I'm looking at, how do you show up in your own life, like with your own family? How do you talk about your parents? How do you talk about, your spouses? Like, how do you talk about your goals? Like, how do you talk about growth? How do you handle conflict? Like, when things are uncomfortable, do you shut down? Do you run away? Are you willing to have conversation? For me, I'm like, it's less of like, this checklist of like, oh, he doesn't have this red flag. It's more of like, how are we in communication? Are you someone who goes distant when you're upset for days and doesn't communicate? That's a red flag. Like, are you somebody when you're angry, you lash out but don't apologize afterwards or explain? You just leave it at that, like that? That's a red flag. Are you, when we're getting angry with each other, like, am I starting to feel unsafe? Like, even if we're frustrated? Like, so those are like the red flags, that I'm looking for. And I think that sometimes if we don't have the right lens, we're not looking through the right lens, we can kind of dismiss certain behaviors. Like, oh, how do you talk about my friends? How do you talk about others? How do you treat others? Like, those are kind of the flags that I'm paying attention, like, to see, like, who is your character,
Yeah, I did. Like I said, I had an ex-girlfriend after the mother of my kids, and the first thing I noticed was fucking red flags. Didn't even give this woman a chance, man. No way. Wait a minute.
What was like the first big red flag that you saw? Because it can be hard when you really like somebody for that first time, and again, we kind of ignore it, or we're just like, whatever.
That she would rather spend time with me than when she had her kids.
See, you get it, you get it, dog, you get it. Exactly. That's weird to me.
Well, it's because
my daughter off.
It's because when you have your kids, I have my kids, and that's when we spend time with our kids. You spend time with your kids, I spend time with my kids, and then we can hang out together. So that was, to me, that was red flag number one. And you just wait, where your kids? Yeah. I just assumed her kids were with their dad. Where are your kids at? Oh, with my mom. No, mames. Really? Go home. Yeah. Go hang out with your kids. Red flag number two. Yeah, exactly. Red flag number two. Back then, 2011, she's only paying $200 rent. $200 rent. For 2 bedrooms, full access to the house. She couldn't even give her mom $200 a month. I'm like, irresponsibility right there. Yeah, no. Red flag number 2, strike 2. And then the last one we were in, we were actually nowhere near from home. We were visiting my buddy in Whittier. And I left my phone charging on the countertop. And I caught her going through my phone. And and since the mother of my kids already put me through fucking 6 years of insecurity bullshit, I asked her, "Did you find what you were looking for? Did you find Did you find the conversation you were looking for?" And she said, "Yes." Did you find what you were looking for? And she said it wasn't there.
Because you will find it.
It wasn't there. So she didn't find me talking to whoever she thought I was talking to. She saw the conversation with this individual, but didn't see what she wanted to see. So she saw, okay, well, Andy's not guilty. Okay, cool. But instead of coming and talking to me, you went through my phone. Strike number 3. She was like, what? The whole drive home, it was quiet because she knew that I was just going to drop her off at her house and call it a day. And
she knew you were done.
I'm like, look, I'm sorry. The mother of my kids put me through this shit for 6 years. Insecurity bullshit. Accused me. When I started thinking to myself, fuck, did I cheat on her? Fuck, I'm starting to believe this shit. You know what I mean? Fuck.
And they normally accuse you because they're the ones doing some dirty.
Exactly. So I was like, fuck, did I cheat on her? Fuck. Now I'm starting to question myself. I was like, no,
for real,
no, mames. So when I started dating my wife, that's the first thing I did was look for freaking red flags, and I couldn't find them. Up until we got into it at her mom's house, and I told her, "That's it. I'm leaving you. I'm leaving you here. You can stay with your parents." And my kids are like, "Well, we're staying with mom." All 3 of my kids said, "We're staying with mom." I was like, "Fuck!" I sat in my car for like 2 hours, and then came back and realized I got to marry this one.
Yeah, exactly. They said, all right, well, you have fun. We'll see you when we see you.
Yeah, right? Oh, my God.
No, that speaks volumes that they were, like, holding it down for her like that. I don't know if we touched on what boundaries you matter most now. We are going to come pretty much towards an end today. This is part 1 of her story. We started kind of late this morning, and she's already getting ready. She's putting on her makeup right now, getting ready for work. So I'm a twin mom. I got 3 kids. We be multitasking.
So I'll probably ask a couple more questions, and then we'll get going, and then we'll continue this conversation next week. But for you, what does forgiveness look like now?
Oh Lord, something that I'm continuously working on, something I'm continuously asking God for favor and direction in. I struggled with, and still do, but for years, from like probably 2017, 18 to like 2022, like when I had my twins is really when I was able to start practicing forgiving. But it took me a long time because I still can't forgive myself for a lot of things I've done, decisions I've made. So I'm so disappointed often in myself. I've had to learn to give myself grace and, to even be proud of myself for still being here, still surviving all my worst moments. But for me, finally, it just came to like, one, having my relationship with God really does help me work on forgiveness, but also like, it started with my faith, and then it really started with like accountability. Me being able to look at myself and say, okay, and not in a way where like I'm like, just acquitting people or dismissing people's roles in things or whatever, but just really being like, all right, what is my role in all of these things? Because the common denominator, I'll say it out loud, is me. Like, oh, damn. And all of these jacked up relationships, friendships, partnerships, parents, whatever, I'm the common denominator. So how has my trauma deeply impacted me and how I show up in relationship to others around me? And, and how did that play into the dynamic of things? So once I was able to be like, okay, well, guess what, Jessenia? Hey, you know what, girl? You're pretty harsh on everyone else. You say you're so loving and you're not judgmental and, you're this and that. But hey, you're really judgy on yourself and you're really judgy on the people close to you because you do feel you feel very hurt and betrayed. So like when I was able to be like, oh, okay, well, you're not perfect. And you've hurt the people you've loved and you've said things and you reacted and you had your own acts of violence and abuse and things, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's where it was like, okay, once I was able to kind of start like looking within, seeing how I show up, and then also like starting to try to forgive myself, then I was like, and learning grace from God,
right?
Learning like hurt people. Everybody is going through unspeakable things. Some of us can speak about it and some of us can't. And that's not a matter of like strength or not. It's just some of us do and some of us don't. But those of us who do, it's our responsibility to God, to ourselves, to our testimony, to the people around us to share. Like, hey, you know what? Like, this is what I've gone through and this is how I got out of it by the grace of God and by doing some work on myself, So I think that like that for me, because forgiveness is not easy for me because I'm loyal. Like I'm not just blindly loyal to anybody, but when I've like decided, like when you told me about getting custody of your kids, my mind was like, oh, I ride for Andy. You could call me and be like, Jay, I need this, I need that. Do you know this connect? Do you know that? Can we hide this? I'd be like, dog, here's my burner line. JK feds. You know what I mean? Like, but that's how I am. Once I ride for somebody, I ride for somebody.
Yeah.
So, but I've had to learn that boundary of like, who are you going to ride for? And, how are you showing up? Are you worth being somebody to ride for? Are you worth somebody who you want to be apologized to? Are you displaying behavior and growth and change as someone who should also receive an apology? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that for me really helped break some of that stubbornness and that anger and that heart and that resentment around my heart and be like, okay, all right. And plus there's no growth without forgiveness. Like it does, you can still move forward. So I shouldn't say no growth, but there is a little bit of it that changes you. It keeps you a little changed. And so I feel like in order for me to really become the person that I want to be, I have to forgive myself and I have to forgive everybody else, especially my people closest to me. And I'm still working on that actively today with all of my immediate family. And I'm praying that I can continue to become a better version of myself so I can earn their trust back and behave differently and show up differently so they can continue to forgive me. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, I'm going to let you get to work. Like I said, we started late today. So
I know. I'm so sorry.
No worries. So no, that's fine. That's fine.
It was wild this morning.
We touched on half of our story. We'll continue next week. Next week, I'm going to start you out. You mentioned earlier about being homeless. I don't think we touched on that. So that's probably how we're going to start it next week. So get ready for that. And then,
Lord have mercy.
And then we'll continue. And then we'll continue on the bullet points that you gave me. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor. This episode is brought to you. This episode is brought to you by SolarX Insurance. Fast, friendly, and affordable coverage. Need an SR22? They can help. Ride a motorcycle? Covered. Already have insurance? They got options. SolarX helps all drivers no matter the situation. Call 877-736-4719. That's 877-736-4719 and get back on the road with confidence. My boy Luis. Wrong guy. My boy Juan is waiting for your calls. And I just learned that he has multiple locations. Salinas, Santa Maria, King City. I'm not going to pronounce that one. Delano, Oxnard, Thousand Oaks, Port Hueneme, McFarland, Santa Paula, Watsonsville. There we go. That's the one I couldn't pronounce.
Oh,
Watsonsville.
he's in the Central Valley.
Yeah, he has locations everywhere, guys. Hit him up, and he's waiting for your calls. That number is 877-736-4719. Hit my boy up. And
hit up on.
Yep. Jessenia, any last words before we call it a day?
Jessenia with the J.
Jessenia? Well, I called you Jay. You've been calling yourself Jessenia, so.
No, Jessenia. You
Jessenia.
Jessenia.
I'm gonna say Just. Okay.
No, I appreciate your time, your patience, and your grace, and I look forward to talking to you guys more.
All right, Jessenia, right? Like I end every podcast. Yeah. Thank you for riding with me.
Bye.
Bye. See you next week.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for listening to Ride With Me, the Flat Tire Indie Podcast. You can also listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean.